The Galactic Alliance warship Eternal Dawn shook violently as another hit struck its weakened shields. Admiral Taiwan grabbed the command console to steady himself. Red warning lights flashed across the bridge. "Shields at 12%, Admiral," shouted his second-in-command. Taiwan looked at the tactical display. It showed a grim picture: 30 Alliance ships against hundreds of Void Swarm vessels. The dark, organic-looking enemy ships moved like a single organism, surrounding his fleet. "Status of the evacuation ships?" he asked, his voice calm despite the chaos. "The last transport just jumped to hyperspace, sir. The civilians from Outpost Helios are safe." Taiwan nodded. At least they had saved the colonists. But the cost was high, too high. Another explosion rocked the ship. The lights flickered. "Direct hit to engine section. We're losing power." The admiral stared at the tactical screen. 3 more of his ships vanished in bright flashes as they were destroyed. In just 6 hours, the mighty Third Fleet of the Alliance had been reduced to a handful of damaged vessels. "Order all remaining ships to form a defensive circle. We need to buy time for my daughter's ship to escape." Captain Jisu's vessel, the Swift Messenger carried crucial data about the Void Swarm. The Alliance had never faced anything like these creatures before. They moved as one mind, attacking with strange biological weapons that seemed to eat through Alliance shields. On the bridge of the Swift Messenger Captain Jisu watched her father's fleet with growing dread. "Captain, we have the jump coordinates. We can leave now," said her navigator. Jisu hesitated. "We can't just leave them." Her communications officer looked up with sad eyes. "We just received orders from Admiral Taiwan. He commands us to retreat immediately. Says the data we carry is more important than their lives." Jisu clenched her fists. Her father was sacrificing himself and his entire fleet so she could escape with information about this new enemy. "Very well. Begin jump countdown, but keep recording everything. The Alliance needs to know exactly what happened here." As the Swift Messenger prepared to jump, Jisu watched the sensor displays. The Void Swarm ships were unlike anything in Alliance records. They were not machines but living things, massive space creatures that worked together like a hive of insects. The Eternal Dawn fired its main weapons one last time, creating a brief opening in the swarm's formation. "Jump now," Jisu ordered. The stars stretched into lines as the Swift Messenger entered hyperspace. Jisu's last view of the battlefield showed her father's ship surrounded by enemy vessels. 3 days later, Jisu stood before the Alliance Council on the capital world. The Grand Chamber was silent as she finished her report. "The Third Fleet has been destroyed. The Void Swarm has consumed the Helios system and is moving toward Alliance space. Based on their speed and numbers, I estimate we have less than 2 months before they reach our core worlds." The council members looked at each other in shock. The Alliance had known peace for over 300 years. Their military was mostly ceremonial. They were not prepared for war. "How do we stop them?" asked the council leader, her voice shaking. Jisu played the recording from the battle. The council watched in horror as the alien ships tore through the Alliance fleet. "Our weapons barely hurt them," Jisu said. "Our shields can't stop their attacks for long. We need something more, something different." An older council member spoke up. "If conventional weapons won't work, perhaps we need unconventional allies." "What do you mean?" asked the leader. "There is one species in the Alliance that knows war better than peace." The old council member looked at Jisu. "We need to contact the humans." The Alliance Council chamber erupted into chaos. "The humans? You can't be serious," shouted one council member, pounding his fist on the table. "They've kept to themselves for nearly a century." Ambassador Hangill stood calmly amid the noise. At 65, he was one of the oldest diplomats in the Alliance. He had met humans before, long ago. "We have little choice," he said when the room quieted. The Void Swarm has already taken 3 more systems since Captain Jisu's escape. Our regular forces cannot stop them. The council leader rubbed her temples. What makes you think humans can help? Their territory is tiny compared to the rest of the Alliance. They have fewer resources, fewer ships. Hangil smiled slightly. The humans joined our alliance 100 years ago, then became quiet. They sent fewer representatives each year. Do you know why? No one answered. Because they were disappointed in us. Hangil continued. They expected an alliance of warriors and found an alliance of merchants and diplomats. But they stayed, watching from a distance. Captain Jisu stepped forward. My father once told me that humans have a saying, hope for peace, prepare for war. While we hoped for peace, perhaps they prepared. The council debated through the night. In the morning, they'd made their decision. Hangil would lead a diplomatic mission to Earth, the human homeworld. Captain Jisu would go with him, carrying the battle data. 3 days later, their small ship exited hyperspace near Earth. Jisu gasped at the sight. I thought humans lived on just one planet, she said, looking at the view screen. Earth was there, blue and green, but it was surrounded by structures. Space stations, orbital habitats, and shipyards formed a complex web around the planet. The moon had been transformed, its surface covered with domes and buildings. Request to approach Earth, Hangil said to the communications officer. A stern voice replied almost instantly. Alliance vessel, state your business. This is Ambassador Hangil with an urgent message for the United Earth Defense Council. We seek assistance against a threat to the entire alliance. There was a long pause. Transmit your identification and remain at your current position. Hangil and Jisu waited nervously. An hour passed before they received a response. Ambassador, you are cleared to dock at Luna Base. A representative will meet you there. Their ship was escorted by 2 small but heavily armed human vessels. Jisu studied them carefully. Their design is strange, she said. No external engines, no visible weapon ports. But our sensors show they're armed to the teeth. Hangil nodded. Humans have always been secretive about their military technology. At Luna Base, they were greeted by a serious-looking human woman in a dark uniform. I am Colonel Yuna. I will take you to Director Sunho, she said, her words short and direct. They followed her through clean, efficient corridors. Jisu noticed that every human they passed wore some kind of uniform. They all moved with purpose and discipline. The meeting room was simple but elegant. Director Sunho was a tall man with gray hair and alert eyes. He stood when they entered. Ambassador Hangil, it has been many years. Hangil bowed slightly. Too many, Director. I wish we met in better circumstances. Sunho turned to Jisu. And you are Captain Jisu, daughter of Admiral Tawan. We received word of your father's brave stand at Helios. The Earth Defense Council honors his sacrifice. Jisu was surprised. How did you know about that? We just lost contact with my father's fleet days ago. Sunho's expression darkened. Captain, we have been monitoring the Void Swarm for years. We knew they were coming long before they reached Alliance space. Hangil's eyes widened. You knew. Why didn't you warn us? We tried, Sunho said. 5 years ago, your council dismissed our concerns as human paranoia. He gestured to a large screen on the wall. Show us what you brought, Captain. Let's see if it matches our intelligence. As Jisu prepared her data, she realized with growing wonder that the humans might know more about this enemy than the Alliance did. Jisu's data appeared on the large screen, showing the battle at Helios. The room fell silent as they watched the Alliance ships being torn apart by the Void Swarm. Director Sunho studied the footage with a grim face. This matches our observations. The swarm grows stronger with each system it consumes. He pressed a button, and a new image appeared. It showed a map of the galaxy with a dark area spreading like a stain across dozens of star systems. This is the Void Swarm's progress over the past 20 years, he explained. We detected them first when they consumed an uninhabited system at the edge of the galaxy. Hangil stared in shock. 20 years. They'd been active that long. Yes, and they've been moving faster each year. Sun Ho zoomed in on the map. We believe they are not just destroying. They are consuming, using the resources of each system to build more of themselves. Jisoo stepped closer to the screen. Our scientists never detected anything like this. Your scientists weren't looking, Sun Ho said. His voice wasn't angry, just matter of fact. The Alliance has enjoyed peace for so long that it stopped watching for threats. He led them to another room with a round table. 3 more humans in uniforms waited there. Sun Ho introduced them as his top military advisors. So, Hangil said, taking the seat, will Earth help us fight the Void Swarm? Sun Ho looked at his advisors, then back at the Alliance visitors. We will, but you should understand our position. Earth has only 50 warships. Jisoo's heart sank. Only 50. But the swarm has thousands of vessels. A female advisor named General Mina spoke up. It's not the number of ships that matters, Captain. It's what they can do. Sun Ho nodded. While the Alliance focused on trade and diplomacy, humans continued to prepare for war. It's in our nature. We have a long history of conflict. But still, Hangil said, 50 ships against thousands. Our ships are not like Alliance vessels. Sun Ho explained. We've developed technologies that the Alliance scientists thought impossible. Jisoo remembered the strange human escort ships. No visible engines or weapons, she said. How do they work? Instead of answering, Sun Ho stood up. It would be better to show you. We will take you to our main shipyard tomorrow. He looked at his watch. For now, you need rest. You've traveled far. That night, Jisoo couldn't sleep. She stared out the window of her guest quarters at Earth, glowing blue in the distance. 50 ships to save the Alliance? It seemed impossible. A soft knock on her door interrupted her thoughts. It was Hangil. You should sleep, Captain, the old ambassador said. I can't, Jisoo replied. I keep thinking about my father, about all the people who died while I escaped. And now our hope rests on 50 human ships. Hangil smiled gently. I've known humans longer than you, Captain. Never underestimate them. He sat down beside her. Did you know that before they joined the Alliance, humans fought a war against the Krell Empire? Jisoo nodded. A small border conflict. Right. That's what the history books say. The truth is more interesting. The Krell had a fleet of 300 warships. The humans had just 27. What happened? The humans won. Decisively. The Krell never spoke of it again. Too embarrassed. And humans, well, they don't like to brag about war. Jisoo looked back at Earth. So you think they can really help us? I think, Hangil said slowly, that the Void Swarm is about to meet something it hasn't encountered before. Something that even a mindless, consuming force should fear. What's that? Hangil's eyes reflected the blue light of Earth, a species that has spent its entire history learning how to fight and win against all odds. A species that, despite all its progress, has never forgotten how to wage war. The next morning, Director Sun Ho took Jisoo and Hangil to the main shipyard. They traveled in a small, fast shuttle that zipped around Earth's orbit and headed toward the far side of the moon. I thought we saw the shipyards yesterday, Jisoo said, looking out the window. Sun Ho smiled. You saw our civilian shipyards. What I'm about to show you is something only a few non-humans have ever seen. The shuttle passed through a hidden entrance in the lunar surface. They entered a massive underground cavern that stretched for miles. Jisoo gasped. Inside were warships. Not 50, but hundreds. I thought you said Earth only had 50 ships, Hangil said, his voice filled with confusion. I said we had 50 warships ready for deployment, Sun Ho corrected. These others are in various stages of completion or testing. The human ships looked nothing like Alliance vessels. Where Alliance ships were smooth and elegant, these were angular and compact. Dark metal hulls absorbed light instead of reflecting it. The shuttle docked at a platform, and they were greeted by a tall, serious man in a black uniform with silver stars on the collar. "This is Admiral Do Hyun," Sun Ho said. "He commands our defense fleet." Do Hyun nodded at the visitors. "Welcome to Luna Base Alpha, our most secure facility." He led them to a large viewing window overlooking the dry dock. Below them was a warship unlike anything Jisoo had ever seen. It was smaller than most Alliance cruisers, but bristled with features she couldn't identify. "This is the Silent Thunder *, our newest destroyer," Do Hyun said with pride. "It carries enough firepower to destroy 20 Alliance capital ships." Jisoo couldn't believe her ears. "That's impossible." Instead of arguing, Do Hyun handed her a tablet showing the ship's specifications. Jisoo read through them with growing amazement. "These weapon systems, the shield technology. How did you develop all this?" "Necessity," Admiral Do Hyun said simply. "Throughout human history, we have faced countless wars. When we joined the Alliance, we hoped to leave that behind. But old habits die hard." He pointed to different sections of the shipyard. "While the Alliance enjoyed peace, we kept preparing. Not because we wanted war, but because we feared what might happen if we weren't ready when war found us." They walked through corridors lined with busy workers and soldiers training in simulation rooms. "Your people seem so focused," Han Gil observed. "Humans work best with a clear purpose," Sun Ho explained. "And right now, our purpose is to stop the Void Swarm." They entered a large circular room with a holographic display of the galaxy in the center. A woman in a commander's uniform was studying the display. "This is Fleet Commander Min Soo," Admiral Do Hyun introduced her. "She's developing our battle strategy against the swarm." Min Soo looked up and nodded briefly. "The data you brought is helpful, Captain Jisoo. It confirms our theories about the swarm's attack patterns." Jisoo stepped closer to the display. "You already have a plan to fight them." "We've been planning for years," Min Soo said. She pointed to several points on the map. "The swarm moves like a living organism because it is one. Cut off the head, and the body will fall." "You know where the head is?" Han Gil asked. Min Soo zoomed in on a distant star system. "We believe so, but reaching it won't be easy." Admiral Do Hyun turned to Director Sun Ho. "Sir, if we're going to help the Alliance, we need to move quickly. The swarm has already consumed another system while we've been talking." Sun Ho nodded and faced their guests. "Captain Jisoo, Ambassador Han Gil, now you've seen what Earth can offer, but you should understand something. Our ships are powerful, but 50 vessels can't defend the entire Alliance. We need to strike at the heart of the swarm." Jisoo thought of her father's sacrifice, of all the Alliance worlds in danger. "Whatever you need from us, you'll have it." "Good," Sun Ho said, "because Admiral Do Hyun leaves with our fleet in 6 hours. And we want you, Captain Jisoo, to come with us as our Alliance liaison." 6 hours later, Captain Jisoo stood on the bridge of the human flagship Defiance *. Admiral Do Hyun sat in the command chair, calmly giving orders as the fleet prepared to depart. Jisoo had never seen a ship bridge like this before. Alliance vessels had large open command centers. This one was compact, with crew members working at stations built into the walls. Everyone wore dark uniforms and moved with quick, precise actions. "All ships report ready, Admiral," said a young officer. Do Hyun nodded. "Begin launch sequence." One by one, 50 human warships emerged from their hidden bases around the Moon and Earth. They formed a tight formation, their dark hulls barely visible against the blackness of space. "Captain Jisoo," Do Hyun said, "please inform Alliance headquarters of our departure." Jisoo sent the message through her Alliance communication device. The response came quickly. "The Council requests that you bring the human fleet to Alliance headquarters first," she told Do Hyun. They want to welcome you officially before we head to the front lines. Do-hyun exchanged looks with Director Sun-ho, who had joined them for the launch. Politics, Sun-ho said with a slight smile. Very well. It might help if the Alliance sees our ships firsthand. The human fleet jumped to hyperspace, moving faster than any Alliance vessel Jisoo had ever been on. They reached Alliance headquarters in just under 2 days. As they exited hyperspace, Jisoo saw the massive space station that served as the center of Alliance government. Surrounding it were nearly 100 Alliance defense ships, the largest gathering of their fleet since the war began. They've assembled quite a welcome party, Do-hyun remarked. Jisoo frowned. Those aren't honor guards. They're defensive positions. Sun-ho nodded. They fear us. The communication officer's voice cut through the tension. We're receiving a message from Alliance Command. A stern-faced Alliance general appeared on screen. Human vessels, maintain your current position. Do not approach further. Do-hyun leaned forward. This is Admiral Do-hyun of Earth's Defense Fleet. We are here at the request of your council to assist against the Void Swarm. The general's expression didn't change. We appreciate your response to our call for aid. However, we were not expecting such advanced vessels. The council requests a meeting with your leaders before proceeding. More delays, Do-hyun muttered. He looked at Sun-ho, who nodded. We will comply, Do-hyun told the general. Director Sun-ho and Captain Jisoo will shuttle to the station for this meeting. After the communication ended, Do-hyun turned to Jisoo. Captain, make sure they understand we don't have time for lengthy debates. The swarm consumes another system every 3 days. An hour later, Jisoo stood beside Sun-ho in the Alliance Council chamber. The council members stared at them with a mixture of hope and fear. Director Sun-ho, the council leader, began. We are grateful for Earth's swift response to our request for aid. However, we must discuss your battle plan. Sun-ho stepped forward. The plan is simple. We strike directly at the swarm's command center while your remaining fleets defend your core worlds. An Alliance military advisor stood up. That's madness. Our simulations show a direct assault would be suicide. Your simulations are based on Alliance ships and tactics, Sun-ho replied calmly. Ours are different. The council leader looked troubled. Director, we cannot allow a fleet of unknown capability to operate independently in Alliance space. Your ships must be placed under Alliance command. Sun-ho's face remained neutral, but Jisoo saw his hands tighten slightly. Madam Leader, Sun-ho said, we respect the Alliance. But Earth's fleet has trained for this specific enemy. We cannot delay or change our strategy now. Before the leader could respond, alarms blared throughout the station. A communications officer rushed into the chamber. The Void Swarm has been detected in the Nexus system. They're moving faster than we predicted. The council leader paled. The Nexus system was just one jump away from their position. Sun-ho turned to her. Madam Leader, we are out of time for debate. The Nexus system is a critical hyperspace junction. If it falls, half your worlds will be cut off from escape routes. He stepped closer. Let us do what we came to do. Let us fight. The council chamber fell silent. Then the leader spoke, her voice tight with fear. Very well, Director Sun-ho. Your fleet has our permission to engage the enemy at the Nexus system. Sun-ho didn't waste time with thanks. He and Jisoo rushed back to their shuttle and returned to the Defiance *. The swarm is moving faster than expected, Jisoo told Admiral Do-hyun as they entered the bridge. They've reached the Nexus system. Do-hyun nodded. All ships, prepare for jump to Nexus. Battle Formation Alpha. Jisoo noticed that several Alliance military officers had come aboard to observe. They watched the human crew with doubt in their eyes. One of them, General Kyo, approached her. Captain, does Admiral Do-hyun understand what he's facing? The Nexus system has 7 hyperspace lanes. The swarm could attack from any direction. I believe he knows what he's doing, Jisoo said, though she felt her own doubts rising. The human fleet jumped to hyperspace. Minutes later, they arrived at the Nexus system. Jisoo gasped at the sight on the main screen. Hundreds of void swarm ships filled the space around the system's central planet. The once beautiful world was now covered in dark patches as the swarm consumed its resources. Alliance defenders? Do-hyun asked. 2 cruisers and 5 frigates, reported a sensor officer. They're heavily damaged and retreating toward the Centauri lane. Do-hyun turned to Fleet Commander Min-soo. Commander, you may proceed with attack pattern Delta 3. Min-soo nodded and began giving orders. To Jisoo's surprise, the tight human formation suddenly broke apart. Each ship moved in a different direction, seemingly at random. General Kyo looked alarmed. What are they doing? They're breaking formation. Jisoo had no answer. Alliance battle doctrine always emphasized maintaining tight formations for mutual defense. The human ships accelerated toward the swarm at incredible speeds. Instead of firing from a distance as Alliance ships would, they plunged directly into the enemy's midst. They're going to be surrounded and destroyed, Kyo said in horror. But something strange happened. As the swarm ships turned to attack, they seemed confused by the humans' movements. Each human vessel followed an unpredictable path, changing direction without warning. What you're seeing, Director Sunho explained, is what we call distributed chaos tactics. The swarm thinks as one mind. It expects enemies to act in predictable ways. On the main screen, Jisoo watched as human ships suddenly fired weapons unlike anything she had seen before. Beams of intense blue energy cut through swarm vessels. Where Alliance weapons had barely penetrated the swarm's biological armor, these beams sliced through it like it was paper. Quantum disruptors, Sunho said. They target the molecular bonds in the swarm's living ships. The battle continued for hours. Jisoo watched in amazement as the human ships darted and weaved through the swarm, always moving, never staying still long enough to be surrounded. The Alliance ships are clear of the battle zone, reported a communications officer. Do-hyun nodded. Good. Commander Min-soo, execute Phase 2. Min-soo pressed a button on her console. All ships deploy fireflies. From each human ship, dozens of small, glowing objects emerge. They flew toward the center of the swarm formation, moving faster than any ship could. What are those? Jisoo asked. Automated attack drones, Sunho answered. Another technology the Alliance never developed. The drones exploded in bright flashes among the densest clusters of swarm ships. Each explosion set off a chain reaction of secondary explosions. Slowly, the tide of battle turned. The swarm, for the first time since entering Alliance space, began to retreat. They're pulling back to the Orion lane, reported a sensor officer. The bridge crew remained focused, but Jisoo could sense their quiet pride. Admiral Do-hyun stood from his command chair. Secure the system. Prepare to pursue. He turned to the Alliance observers, whose faces showed pure shock. This, he said calmly, was just the beginning. News of the victory at Nexus spread quickly through Alliance space. For the first time since the invasion began, people felt hope. 3 days after the battle, Jisoo worked with human tactical officer Junho aboard the Defiance *. They studied data from the battle, looking for patterns in the swarm's movements. See this. Junho pointed to a cluster of swarm ships on the screen. They all changed direction at exactly the same moment when one of them was hit. Jisoo leaned closer. It's like they share a single nervous system. That's what we think too, Junho said. The swarm isn't just many ships working together. It's one organism spread across thousands of vessels. He pulled up more images, and look here. During the battle, we detected unusual energy signals from these larger ships at the back of their formation. Jisoo studied the data. Command ships. Command nodes, Junho corrected. We believe they coordinate the swarm's actions. Cut them off, and the rest might become disorganized. Their work was interrupted when Admiral Du-hyun called a meeting in the main strategy room. Fleet commanders from both human and alliance forces gathered around a large tactical display. "The swarm is regrouping," Du-hyun announced. "Our scouts report they're gathering their forces here, in the Helios system." Jisoo felt a pang in her heart. Helios, where her father had made his last stand. "Our victory at Nexus was significant," Du-hyun continued, "but the swarm is adaptive. They won't fall for the same tactics twice." He nodded to Junho, who stepped forward with Jisoo. "Captain Jisoo and I have identified what we believe are the swarm's command nodes," Junho explained. He highlighted several large ships on the display. "These vessels direct the smaller ones. If we can destroy them, the swarm might lose cohesion." Admiral Du-hyun studied the display. "The problem is reaching them. The command nodes stay at the center of the swarm, protected by layers of ships. Then we need to strike directly at their heart," said Director Sunho, who had been listening quietly. "A small fast force could punch through their defenses while the main fleet draws their attention." Alliance General Kyo shook his head. "Too risky. We should form a defensive line at these key systems instead." He pointed to several alliance worlds. "Protect our core territories. Defense won't win this war," Du-hyun said firmly. "The swarm keeps growing with each world it consumes. We must attack now, while we have momentum." The debate grew heated. Alliance commanders wanted to protect their worlds. Human officers pushed for an aggressive strike. Finally, Jisoo spoke up. "Admiral Du-hyun is right." All eyes turned to her. "My father died trying to defend against the swarm. He bought us time, but defense alone will fail. The swarm simply overwhelms any defensive line eventually." She walked to the display and pointed to a system deep in swarm territory. "Our combined data shows the largest command node is here. If we can reach it and destroy it, we might cripple the entire swarm." The room fell silent as everyone considered her words. "It would be a perilous mission," Du-hyun said finally. "We would need to send our fastest ships deep into enemy territory." Director Sunho nodded. "I believe it's our best option." The alliance commanders still looked doubtful. General Kyo stood up. "The council will never approve such a risky plan. They'll order us to defend the core worlds." Do-hyun's expression hardened. "Then we go without their approval. Earth joined this alliance to protect life against threats like the swarm. We will fulfill that duty, with or without permission." Jisoo felt torn between her loyalty to the alliance and her belief that the humans were right. "I'll speak to what remains of the alliance fleet," she said. "Perhaps some will join us." As the meeting ended, a message arrived from alliance headquarters. The council had formally ordered all alliance ships to fall back and defend the core worlds. Do-hyun read the message and looked at Jisoo. "It seems you must make a choice, Captain. Follow your orders or follow your instincts." Jisoo thought of her father. What would he do? The answer came easily. "My place is with this fleet, Admiral. Whatever comes next." The human fleet prepared for their most dangerous mission yet. 20 of their fastest ships would make the strike at the swarm's command node. The remaining 30 would create a diversion at the edge of swarm territory. To Jisoo's surprise, a single alliance ship joined them. It was the Swift Messenger *, her own vessel, now commanded by her first officer. The crew voted. Her officer explained over the comm, "We all want to fight alongside you, Captain." Even more surprising was the arrival of 5 more alliance ships. Leading them was a battered cruiser, the Guardian *. On its bridge stood Admiral Ta-1, Jisoo's father. "Father," Jisoo cried when his image appeared on the screen. "You're alive." Ta-1 looked tired but determined. "We escaped in escape pods when the Eternal Dawn was destroyed. The swarm left us for dead." His eyes showed pride. "When I heard what you and the humans were planning, I gathered what ships I could find." Admiral Du-hyun welcomed the alliance vessels. "Every ship helps, Admiral Ta-1. But this mission will be extremely dangerous. All missions against the swarm are dangerous, Ta-1 replied. At least this one has a purpose beyond delaying the inevitable. As the fleet prepared to depart, 2 human scientists requested to see Admiral Du Hyun. Ji-Soo was present when they arrived on the bridge. "Admiral, we've developed something that might help," said the woman, who introduced herself as Eun-ji. Beside her stood her colleague, Da-ho. Da-ho held up a small cylindrical device. "This is a neural disruptor. It emits a frequency that should interfere with the swarm's communication system." "Should?" Du Hyun asked. "We've tested it on small swarm samples collected after the Nexus battle," Eun-ji explained. "It disrupted their cellular communication. But to affect the main command node, it would need to be placed directly on or near it." Jun-ho, who had been listening, stepped forward. "So someone would need to deliver it manually, right into the heart of the swarm." The scientists nodded. "The device must be within half a kilometer of the command node to work." Do Hyun looked troubled. "That's a suicide mission." "I'll do it," Ji-Soo said without hesitation. Everyone stared at her. "I know swarm movements better than most, and I owe it to all the Alliance worlds that have fallen." Jun-ho stepped beside her. "I'll go too. 2 have a better chance than 1. Admiral Du Hyun didn't argue. He knew the stakes. "You'll take our fastest shuttle. The fleet will create as many openings as possible." 3 days later, the human fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the system, where the main command node was located. Immediately, thousands of swarm ships moved to intercept them. "Commence attack," ordered Du Hyun. "All ships, pattern Omega. Draw them away from the center." Human vessels shot forward, their advanced engines pushing them to incredible speeds. They fired their weapons, causing massive damage to the outer swarm formations. Meanwhile, Ji-Soo and Jun-ho piloted their shuttle toward the center of the swarm, using the chaos of battle as cover. The small craft had been modified with extra shielding and stealth technology. "There it is," Jun-ho said as they approached the command node. It was enormous, at least 5 times larger than any swarm ship they had seen before. It pulsed with strange, organic energy. Suddenly, their shuttle shook violently. "We're hit," Ji-Soo shouted. Warning lights flashed across the control panel. "Engines failing," Jun-ho reported. "We won't reach the target." Ji-Soo looked at the neural disruptor device, then at the command node. They were so close, less than a kilometer away. "They're still away," she said. She grabbed the device and headed for the airlock, putting on a spacesuit. "What are you doing?" Jun-ho asked, alarmed. "The shuttle's emergency thrusters still work. They can give me enough push to reach the node." Jun-ho shook his head. "You'll never survive out there." He put on his own suit. "We go together." With the disruptor secured between them, they opened the airlock and pushed off from the dying shuttle, using the thrusters to propel themselves toward the massive command node. All around them, the battle raged. Human and Alliance ships fought bravely, but they were outnumbered. Everything depended on Ji-Soo and Jun-ho reaching their target. Ji-Soo and Jun-ho floated through space, using their suit thrusters to push toward the massive command node. The battle raged around them, flashes of weapons fire lighting up the darkness. "We're almost in range," Jun-ho said, checking the small device they carried between them. 300 meters to go. A nearby explosion sent them tumbling. Ji-Soo used her remaining thruster fuel to stabilize them, but the effort drained her suit's power reserves. "My suit's failing," she told Jun-ho. "You'll have to finish this alone." Jun-ho shook his head inside his helmet. "We started this together. We'll finish it together." He connected a power line from his suit to hers. "This will give us both enough time." They continued toward the command node, each push bringing them closer to their target. Through her helmet, Ji-Soo could see the strange, pulsing surface of the massive swarm ship. It looked like a giant brain, with glowing veins running across its surface. There, Jun-ho pointed to a spot where the veins converge. That must be the central processing area. With one final push, they'd reached the surface of the command node. The organic material felt spongy under their magnetic boots. Jun-Ho quickly attached the neural disruptor to the surface while Jisoo kept watch. Device activated, Jun-Ho announced. 20 seconds until full effect. Suddenly, the surface beneath them began to vibrate. The entire command node seemed to sense the threat. It knows, Jisoo shouted. It's trying to shake us off. They held onto the embedded device as the vibrations grew stronger. 10 seconds left. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. A pulse of energy shot out from the device, invisible but powerful. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, all around them, the battle changed. Swarm ships that had been moving with perfect coordination suddenly drifted aimlessly. Some crashed into each other. Others simply stopped moving entirely. It worked, Jisoo exclaimed. Through the fleet communication channel, she could hear cheers as both human and Alliance forces witnessed the swarm's confusion. All ships focus fire on the command node. Admiral Do-hyun's voice came through clearly. Captain Jisoo, Officer Jun-Ho, get clear if you can. But their suits were nearly drained of power. They could only watch as the combined fleet turned its weapons toward their position. It's been an honor, Jun-Ho said, taking Jisoo's gloved hand in his. Just then, a small shuttle appeared beside them. The airlock opened to reveal Admiral Ta-won in a spacesuit. "Did you think I would lose my daughter twice?" he said, helping them inside. The shuttle sped away just as the fleet's weapons hit the command node. The massive structure exploded in a brilliant flash of light and energy. 3 weeks later, Jisoo stood at a window in Alliance headquarters, looking out at the stars. Her arm was still in a cast, but the doctors said she would make a full recovery. Beside her stood Jun-Ho, similarly bandaged but alive. "The reports say the swarm is in full retreat," he told her. "Without the main command node, they've lost their coordination." Jisoo nodded. "But they're still out there, and they'll recover eventually. That's why we're not letting our guard down," said Director Sun-Ho as he entered the room. "The Alliance Council has agreed to form a new joint defense force. Humans will share our military technology, and the Alliance will share their scientific knowledge." Admiral Do-hyun and Admiral Ta-won joined them, looking at a holographic display of the new fleet being built. "Twice as many ships as before," Ta-won said with approval, "and incorporating both our technologies. We learned an important lesson," Do-hyun added. "The Alliance needed humanity's warrior spirit, but we needed the Alliance's peaceful vision. Together, we're stronger than either of us alone." Jisoo looked out at the stars again. For the first time since the Void Swarm appeared, she felt true hope for the future. Not just because they had won a battle, but because two different approaches to life had found a way to work together. "They thought defeat was certain," she said quietly, "until humanity's fleet answered the call." Jun-Ho smiled. "And now neither humans nor the Alliance will ever stand alone again." Outside the window, the first ships of the new joint fleet moved into formation, their lights bright against the darkness of space, ready to defend all life in the galaxy together.